Hello friends, Microsoft Excel or equivalent spreadsheet is very important part of our life. The data can be collected, organized and analyzed using multiple functions of Microsoft Excel. Most of the time we get the data from some external sources, we copy them into Microsoft Excel and then we analyze. Hence, we also need to know a few cleanup functions which will be cleaning the data to change the incoming data to such an extent that the data will be healthy and you should be able to work further on healthy data. In this set of lessons, we will be running through all Microsoft Excel functions which will be helping you cleaning up the data, looking up for important information and analyzing the data. First, we will look into how the data of very large size in Excel can be reviewed for a specific value or value corresponding to a specific reference, etc. using some reference functions. We already understand Vlookup is a function in Microsoft Excel that allows you to search for a specific value in a table and return a corresponding value from the same row. It is one of the most commonly used functions in Excel. Particularly in data analysis, financial modeling and other spreadsheet applications, Vlookup plays very important role. You already know Vlookup stands for vertical lookup, which means that it searches for a value in the leftmost column of the table, that is, the column that contains the lookup value, and returns a value from the same row in a specified column on the right hand side of the lookup column. Vlookup function requires 4 important arguments. First one is the lookup value. This is the value which can be a number, alphanumeric or date, etc. or reference to absolute or relative cell or a result of a formula in certain cell. Any of these value is the value you want to search for in the leftmost column of the table. Second argument is table array. This is the range of cells that contains the table you want to search. Column index number. This is the number of the column in the table that contains the value you want to return. This number will be with reference to the array you mentioned as the table array in the second argument. Range lookup. This is the last argument which is optional. This argument specifies whether to perform an approximate match or exact match between the result and lookup value. Let us go through a few demos to understand more about how Vlookup function works. For showing how Vlookup works, I have a few demos in my mind. So I will show you lookup based on a value which can be number, text, formula or date. Then I also will show you the lookup based on a cell value, which will be somewhat like cell number like A2, B12, C10, etc. Within these two demos, I will also show you how the lookup value can be based on a relative reference or absolute reference. When I say relative reference, the distance between the result and the lookup value in terms of rows and columns will remain same. When you are copying that Vlookup formula along the rows, the relative difference in terms of rows and columns will be maintained. I will show you such kind of search based on relative cell reference as well as absolute cell reference. There are many other demos in my mind. We will be seeing them in multiple lessons. Let us go to demo data I prepared. I have a master data which you must be already knowing. This is the list of metals and non-metals for which the corresponding rate, price and tax rate are listed in a table. The second sheet is list of transactions. Multiple transactions made for metals on different dates are listed here. For these transactions, you will be capturing metal which is on sale, the quantity sold and the date when the sale happened. Whereas the price and tax rate will be picked up from master data sheet. The cost and tax amounts will be calculated using formula. Cost is equal to quantity multiplied by price. Tax is equal to the percentage of tax rate multiplied by cost. We will see first on how the price will be pulled from outside the current transaction sheet. That means you are picking up the price from a source which is outside your working sheet. Your working sheet is transactions. VLOOKUP. Your lookup value is the metal name, which is the cell number A2. Your table array from which you will be picking up the price will be in master data sheet. Here you select the columns which will be comprising the table array as a reference to find result. You can pick up the columns as the search array or pick up the absolute cells like B1 to E15. In both cases, the result will be same. But if you are selecting the whole columns, it will be more useful when your master data gets updated with more and more metals and the corresponding price and tax rates. So, you select column range of B to E as your table array. The third argument is the column number where you will be finding the result. Because your array is starting from column B, the column number for price will be 3. You can choose whether you wanted the match as absolute match or approximate match. In this case, I want exact match. Hence, I choose 0 or false. If you want approximate match, you will have to choose true or number 1. You copied all the values from master data. So for each of these metals, you found the corresponding price and also the cost because the cost is calculated by a formula. You didn't get the value for one row called glass because there is no value in master data. Add it, put a rate, put some price as well, some tax percentage. The new values are reflected here. Had you selected only the absolute cells as your table array like this, you would have missed this particular value. What did you understand now? You did the search based on a relative cell reference and pulled the result from a sheet which is outside your current working sheet. You can pull the tax rate in the same way. Everything remains same except the column number. VLOOKUP. Your reference is cell number A2. Select the columns B to E as table array. Column number will be 4 because you wanted the tax rate. You want exact match. Close the function. Now you found all the tax rates pulled from master data. You can verify whether these tax rates are correctly picked up from the source, that is master data. For example, nickel, the tax rate is 3%. For nickel, the tax rate is 3%. In the same way, you can just verify the correctness of functioning of VLOOKUP function. You have seen one type of VLOOKUP functions where you have a relative reference to lookup value and pull the data from outside your working sheet. Let us also look at the absolute reference and within your working sheet. Go back to master data sheet. I wanted to know what are all the steel metals existing in this master data. The metal can be stainless steel, alloy steel, just steel, or any other type of steel. I just wanted to highlight only those rows where a metal with the name containing word steel is existing. For that, you first write down what is your lookup reference. Please note that this is an example of where you use direct value instead of a cell number as the lookup reference. So I wrote the value as steel. I will have to use wildcard search to find out whether any metal with the name steel is existing. Let me create one more column. I will call it as check. Now I will write the formula. My lookup reference value is steel, which is O1. I can write steel as well to show how the absolute value will be taken as the lookup reference. I will do this particular demo and then I will also show you how you can do the VLOOKUP search based on the absolute value. Here you wanted to know all the metal names which will contain steel. So I need to use some wildcard. I am using star, that means any alphanumeric text before the word steel. So that is your lookup value. Now I want to know if there is any value in the row number 2 which has steel included in its name. Hence, my table array will be B2 and C2. In this row, between columns B and C in row number 2, I want to know if there is any metal with the name steel. Now the column number will be 1. Close the function. You found alloy steel which is correct, but you are seeing aluminum, bronze, cobalt, everything picked up in wrong places. This relative reference to table array is correctly copied. In the first row, it was seeing B2 and C2 to find if there is any metal with the name steel. In the second row, it was seeing B3 to C3. In the fourth row, it was looking at B4 and C4 to find if there is any metal with the name steel. But what is the lookup value? The lookup value is also changing because the reference is given as relative. I wanted all these cells to look at this value. However, because I have given it as a relative reference, the cell number is automatically changed to the next number. What should I do? I should use absolute reference. That means every time it should refer to the same cell. So change this to absolute reference. Instead of seeing these not available errors, you can write a if not available error function, ifna function, and make it look much better. Write ifna function. Write what remark you want when there is a not available error. I will write no metal. Now it looks much better. You can even use the color coding to highlight the rows where there is a proper written with the name including steel. This is absolute reference. Knowingly or unknowingly, you also have seen how wildcard search works. I will also show you a separate demo on how wildcard search works, but for the time being, you already have a glance of it. We will go to the next lesson and see more demos with a little bit of complexity. Thank you. We will meet again. We will discuss more in the next lesson.